What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my unit review and builds guide for Citrinne, Rearmed Alcryst, and Lapis. So Citrinne is an amazing support unit who has got Tome of Luxuries, which provides her with minus on special cooldown, and at start of turn 1 she can give herself the super quick impulse effect and basically get -2 special cooldown count. So she can pre-charge her iceberg for the special spiral usage, which is extremely good, and this also helps her use AoE specials quite effectively. This kind of reminds me of Ophelia and also Sonya in a way, and how they can nuke, and she's basically a modern version of them. And then at start of turn, if her HP is at or above 25%, then she can get player phase guaranteed follow-up attack status to herself. And here comes the part which makes Citrinne so unique. So after start of the turn skills have triggered, if unit's HP is at or above 25%, then she can grant any kind of bonus effects, including the visible buffs and the visible status to allies within 2 spaces of unit for 1 turn, excluding the +1 movement and Pathfinder status. So this is a huge thing because Citrinne can give the orders buff and the player phase null follow-up to her allies really easily, and she can also spread other kinds of visible status, which is not really easy to get, like dot status from Noah for example. She can easily spread that. So she is basically going to be functioning as a support unit who can spread a lot of different visible status effects to her allies, which is really good. And even if you're going to be using an ally who can have some kind of status effect and spread it out, she can extend the range of it. So that is the supportive part of her weapon, and I'll be talking more about that. And finally, for the combat aspect of her weapon, at start of combat, if her HP is at or above 25%, she can get +5 to all of her stats, and also gets true damage based on 15% of her resistance, including when using AoE specials. So this is really good and truly makes her like a modern green Ophelia with the AoE usage that she can do with Special Spiral 4 and the -2 special cooldown that she can get at start of turn 1. And she does have amazing base attack of 46 with a super boon, and also really high resistance at base 44. So she's an amazing user of iceberg, and also getting true damage out of her weapon. She does come with Special Spiral 4, which is really good to have in the normal summoning pool. So this is going to be giving you even more true damage on top of her weapon, which is really great. And the best thing about this is that she's able to pierce through the damage reduction effects, which are percentage based and are non-special skills. So it allows her to easily shred those, and then she can loop iceberg or AoE specials using the Special Spiral effect. So it's a really good slot B skill and a perfect skill for a mage like her who's such a solid nuke. And then she comes with Attack Res Oath 4, which is also a perfect slot C skill because she can spread the order status with her weapon and also the visible buff to the attack and resistance. So she's able to teleport and also make her all of the other allies teleport, which is just perfect. And this does help for the true damage aspect and also when you're going to be using AoE specials on her. Now let's talk about how you can make use of the supportive effect of her weapon and use a lot of the different status effects. So here are the status effects which are, I think, really good. So null follow-up status, you can get this from Fallen Lilith and just spread this out. If you don't only have Kadean Lind, an infantry null follow-up and infantry speed tactic are really good options because you can actually give the user of those skills the null follow-up immediately, which is absolutely amazing and makes her a really good teammate with Brave Crom, as he can enjoy a lot of these status effects and he can get the null follow-up without really using his assist first. Bonus doubler is something that is limited with Legendary Eliwood and Young Eliwood, so it is only limited to 1 unit, and you can actually spread this out to your entire team. So imagine like a bunch of tanks and a bunch of God Swords getting bonus doubler effect from Legendary Eliwood, which is just absolutely insane. And charge status is also similar, where you've got female Aleer and male Aleer giving this to their ally support. So you can ally support them with Citrinne and actually give charge status to multiple allies on your team. And Headlong Rush skill, which is available in Summoner Duels as of making this video, is also a really good captain skill if you're going to be using Citrinne in Summoner Duels. Noah does give the dot status, so he's also a pretty good unit to have, as you can spread the dot status on multiple units. And Garrick does give the debuff neutralization effect. Now, as you have seen, I have not really put Astrid in the bonus doubler section or Peony in the neutralizes unit penalties. The reason being is that Citrinne can only spread the status that trigger at start of the turn. She cannot really spread the status effects from someone like Aether, for example, or Astrid or Peony, because those all happen after the turn has already started. and it is in the like middle of the turn basically. So keep that in mind if you want to use Citrinne with the different status effects. We also have even more status effects like Order Status, which she can get with the Oath 4 skill that she comes with, and she can basically extend the Order Status from Bridal Catria, Winter Cordelia. There's also Ground Orders and Tandem Form, which she can utilize, and we do have Valuria and Noah giving the full buff neutralization effect, so that is also limited, which she can spread to different allies. And Null Panic is available pretty easily, honestly, but she can definitely use this from Legendary Eliwood, Garrick, Young Eliwood, and Ashera and the Rouse 4 skills. Though I wouldn't really recommend trading away the Oath 4 for Rouse 4 because Oath 4's teleportation is a lot more valuable in my opinion. If you don't really have a Flame Tribe Tana, then you can spread the counter 1 status from Legendary Eliwood or Headlong Rush Captain skill to multiple allies, and then you can also spread the foe cannot make a follow-up attack or foe follow-up negation effect from Aether, August, or Young Lucius, so this can help some of the slower allies, but still this is gonna get obliterated by the null follow-up enemies. And you can also have the player face guaranteed follow-up attack, which Citrinne comes with in her weapon, so she can easily spread that. And then Triangle Attack and Dual Strike are very powerful effects, which you can extend the range of. Even if, Bridal Catria and Winter Cordelia can spread this effect to multiple allies, you can basically extend this effect. And same goes for the special charges status from Na and Legendary Hinoka. And Dauntless Captain skill does give the special charges status to the captain. So again, making Citrinne captain with some of these captain skills on Summoner Duels is actually really good. And then finally we have some of the status which are not all that available and are only limited to like one unit. Resonant Blades and Shields effect is available on Asker and Duo Asker, so you can basically extend the range of that. And same goes for On Guard and Aether Raids defense in the Dark Season. And because Naga can only give Dragon effectiveness to the ally that is adjacent to her, giving this to multiple allies at the same time is really helpful. And unhindered movement is provided by Kadean Lind, and Legendary Male Robin's Grand Strategy is insane as ever, so you can basically extend the range of it along with Goto's AoE damage reduction, and Cancel Affinity from Maribel is extremely niche. So those are all of the status effects that you can use with Citrinne and the users that come with those skills. So Citrinne is a very fun unit, and honestly she's going to be aging as a pretty good support unit who can be used in any kind of game mode, from the PvE content to Aether Raids offense, defense, and also in Summoner Duels with many of the captain skills. So overall, Citrinne is a top tier support unit who can function as a very unique unit and also function as a really solid nuke because of the special cooldown -2 that she gets to set up her iceberg, and the true damage and her high base attack that she has got. For building up Citrinne on a budget, you can provide her attack resistance form from Halloween Sophia or from Kadean Soren if you did get the combat manual recently. Otherwise, you can also run attack resistance ideal or even Fury, but unfortunately there is HP threshold in her weapon, so Fury is not going to be the best skill that you can run. And for her Sacred Seal, attack resistance form or attack resistance ideal are going to be pretty good options that you can run. If you're going to be investing a bit more into her, then from Divine Codes you can get attack resistance Unity, which is going to be amazing, especially if you run her with Legendary Male Robin, who's easily one of the best support units. And Citrinne is also a very solid support unit, so she can make use of the Unity skill pretty easily because of her teleportation, and her attack and resistance are pretty high, so she's going to be attracting a lot of debuffs on those stats, and she can basically make productive use out of that. If you're going to be using AoE Citrinne, then you can run Still Water, because Life and Death does reduce your resistance, which is not good for getting the true damage, and Fury does have the recoil. So Still Water is basically going to be the best skill that you can run on an AoE Citrinne, and this is going to be the build that you can run with like multiple dancers and basically clear every kind of chain challenge and abyssal content, because Citrinne hits so hard, and at the same time she's also going to be supporting well with the Oath 4 skill and providing the order status to your other allies, which is really good. Now because this is an AoE build, you can definitely try and run Hardy Bearing so that you're not stopped by the Vantage units who will fall into the Vantage range because of the AoE special. You can also run Attack Resistance Finish 4 because she's always going to be triggering specials, so it is pretty good for stacking up resistance on her and getting more iceberg damage, and for getting the healing and also the true damage on top of the true damage that she already gets from her weapon and Special Spiral 4. And then finally, if you're going to be running her in Aether Raids defense, then Remote Mirror can, function and help you because of its damage reduction in case that the opponent survives. And the opponent may survive, they do have some kind of true damage reduction or something like that, so Iceberg Special Spiral 4 is amazing because you can just pre-charge the Iceberg with her Tome of Luxuries, and she doesn't really require any kind of infantry pelt support, and at the same time she can extend the range of On Guard from Medius and also provide the order status to different allies on your team, even if you're not running Bridal Catria. So that's why she's going to be an excellent Aether Raids defense unit, but still is going to be susceptible to Elamine if you do run her in the Anima season. If you want to make her Elamine proof, then you can just run her with Still Water and Phantom Resistance, but running her in the Dark season is a lot easier. Rearmed Alcryst is an infantry archer who can provide dark bow to the other archers, and I've made a full video going over the best users of it and the builds that you can run with this bow, so you can check that video out. So Alcryst himself is a pretty good archer with base 43 attack with a super boon and base 46 speed. An Arcane Dark Bow gives him -1 special cooldown, and at start of combat, if his HP is at or above 25%, then he can get +6 attack and speed in the combat, and also neutralize any of the penalties that he has on himself, and also gets the half version of Null Follow-Up, the offensive half, which allows you to bypass the follow-up negation effects. And then finally, in the player phase, you're going to be able to get the Die Bomb effect, which we have seen before on Ullr's weapon and also on Jamke. So it is going to be a really offensive weapon that is meant for a speedy archer, and Alcryst is a speedy archer with that base 46 speed. Unfortunately, the debuff neutralization can be a bit annoying if you're trying to run him with Legendary Male Robin, as having a unity effect would have been a lot better than having this kind of debuff neutralization. Still, it can help you because speed is very important with this kind of weapon. So this is a really good weapon for him, and he does have a pretty optimal base kit with that, with Flash Barrow, which is going to be a player phase slot a skill that can provide you +7 attack and speed. And if you've got more speed than foe speed -5, then you can get special charge +1 per attack. Now getting this with Deadeye is definitely really good, especially because his personal skill, Get Behind Me, is going to be making him as a pretty unique infantry archer, because Get Behind Me is always going to be active in the player phase, and it does inflict -5 speed and defense debuff on the foe in the combat, and also inflicts penalty on foe's defense depending on 30% of their visible defense, which is going to be helping him against the bulkier opponents. And finally, he has got the half tempo effect, the offensive half, so he basically has Null Guard built in the skill, which is perfect because he gets the special charges from Flash Barrow, and then he can trigger Deadeye using that and this tempo skill, and he does get a decent amount of debuffs on the defense, which is going to be making him as a pretty deadly archer. And getting the speed debuff is always going to be helpful so that he can double and make use of the Die Bomb effect from Arcane Dark Bow. Finally, he does have Defense Rest Smoke 3 in his slot C, which he doesn't really make the best use out of because this is more of a skill that is useful on units that have got some kind of canto or extra action, because you can basically retreat and provide that Pathfinder for your allies to use up. And most of the time, Alcryst is basically going to be staying in the same place and not going to be having access to canto. So it is still going to be a decent skill to have because of the debuffs that he can get and the attack buff that it can provide him with. Overall, Alcryst is an amazing infantry archer with Arcane Dark Bow, and Get Behind Me is going to be making him unique compared to a lot of the infantry archers because of its tempo effect and the fact that he can get the speed and defense debuff with it, and he already comes with Flash Barrow, which can make him spam Deadeye and be a pretty good archer with this kind of Die Bomb effect. If you're going to be building up Alcryst, then you don't really need to change much. You can just give him Blade Session as a player phase Sacred Seal, and he should be fine. And the only thing that he can kind of improve on his base kit, in my opinion, is having Attack Speed Oath 4. So this can allow him to have more offenses, which is going to be helpful, and also getting the teleportation. So this is something that you can do if you're a big Alcryst fan. And you can also run like some other Thought Skill and Time Pulse, but I don't really think that that's the best option to go with, because then you're going to be susceptible to the scowl effects of many of the dragons as they can run, and they're probably going to be running it even more as we get more scowl skills in the future. So that's why I can just stick with Flash Barrow and the tempo effect that you get from Get Behind Me, and you can just increase the offenses with Attack Speed Oath 4. Even if you're going to be running him in like Aether Raids defense on a Bridal Catria team, I still think that having Attack Speed Oath 4 is really good just for these extra offenses that you can get. Lapis is a sword infantry unit, and she's an instant demote into the 3-star 4-star pool, which means that it is going to be super hard to get her, and you have more chances of getting 33 diamonds before you plus and merger. So that is just fantastic. And she comes with Defier Sword Plus, which is a decent weapon, but you can definitely replace this with other good weapons like Arcane Devourer or Petalfall Blade Plus, or even Upfront Blade Plus if you're on a budget. And Lapis does have Sorcery Blade 3 at 5-star, which is going to be helpful if you're trying to fodder off Legendary Yuri or any kind of other unit that comes with attack speed Hexblade in the future. And then she has got Speed Defense 03 at 4-star. And her stat spread is pretty good at 45 base speed and 41 attack. And the problem with Lapis is going to be the fact that she's in a very saturated and a very competitive class type. And there are just so many sword infantry units that are fast and have a preferred weapon and just have that edge over Lapis. And because she's released so late into the generation, we're very close to having the next BST bump as we get Choose Your Legends unit next month. And by that time, you're probably not even going to be having like enough copies to plus and merge Lapis. And the sword infantry units which are released in the next gen are going to be having more BST and just more stats allocated. But still the allocation of Lapis's stats are pretty good, as you can see with the comparison with Lumera and Holst. So Lapis does end up having more speed than them, even though both of these do have the preferred weapon, but still she can function with Arcane Devourer pretty well, and she does have more resistance than both of them, so she can function as a god sword if you're a big fan. If you're going to be building her up on a budget, then you can simply give her Fury 3 and also attack resistance Link 3 so that she can buff up all of these stats that she has got, and going for the speed super boon is going to be the way to go on Lapis. And if you're going to be investing even more into her, and if you don't have Arcane Devourer, then this is the weapon that you can run. So Upfront Blade Plus does provide you the attack and speed and also the attack and speed debuff neutralization, which can be helpful on a budget, and you can just get the skills from divine codes like attack speed ideal 4, speed smoke 4, and null follow up from Lumera. So this is a build that you can make if you don't really have the best skills available like Arcane Devourer and you cannot really go the full way through, and if you just want to have something meanwhile until you get Arcane Devourer for Lapis. If you do have Arcane Devourer, then that's going to be her best weapon because it does provide you with +5 to all of your stats, minus on special cooldown, and special charge on both enemies' attacks and your own attacks. So it does make for a pretty good weapon to loop godlike reflexes, and it does provide you 40% damage reduction and full null follow-up. So it is the perfect weapon for her, and you can run Vital Astra and Time Pulse so that you can have it pre-charged, and you can even trigger it twice in a combat because of the special charges that you can get with Arcane Devourer. And Close Call 4 or any kind of tier 4 damage reduction skill is going to be pretty good on Lapis with her high speed and for trying to make her as a god sword and stacking up a lot of damage reduction. At max investment, she can definitely run godlike reflexes and run distant attack speed solo, and even run Spurn Force so that she can get more true damage and stack up even more speed with Speed Smoke 4. Godlike reflexes is pretty amazing with Arcane Devourer because of its special charges, so you can basically loop godlike reflexes, and godlike reflexes cannot get pierced by Deadeye, Lethality, or any of those specials, which is pretty good for functioning as a god sword, and this is going to be the perfect weapon for enabling that. And then if you're going to be using her with a finish skill, then I guess you can even run a Bulwark skill if you just want to have more healing. And when Velocity 4 comes out, that is also going to be an option if you want to run that in the slot B. Attack Speed Finish is a really good option that you can run with Arcane Devourer and its special charges. And if you don't really want to run a distant counter skill, then it's a really good skill to have in the slot A. And finally, if you're going to be using her with Legendary Male Robin, then Attack Speed Unity is going to be an option. And you can run Attack Speed Oath 4 for getting the teleportation and having good synergy with the Unity skill. And even if you get panicked, that is going to be working out in your favor if you're going to be running her with Legendary Male Robin. Make sure to share this video with your friends if they're trying to pull any of these units, and if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like and a comment. Also tremendously, and if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more free videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the availability of these instant demote units. So with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.